Porgy and Bess was such an honest portrayal of Black people during that time period. And I feel like this is doing the same thing. It's and I'm just gonna say it. So frequently when we have stories that are being told about African American experiences, the majority of the people on the other side of the stage are not African American. And what happens is that we're not, who's the authority on the culture in the room? And I think what's really unique about this experience, as well as Porgy and Bess, is that at least the versions of Porgy and Bess that I've seen of late, the people behind the table are people of color. And there's no one better to tell the story about an African American experience than African Americans. So having a Black writer and having a Black choreographer to move the bodies, because the way the body moves is very specific, having a Black person on the musical team, and then having a director like Christopher who was able to recognize, I don't have the answers to all of these things. Like, I don't actually know how the community behaves. So let me defer to the actors that I've hired. I can't tell you how unique and special that is and how much I respect Christopher for doing that, because I've been in so many experiences where the person that's telling me how to be Black is not Black. And so now, I did a show not too long ago where there was language in the show about a hot comb, and and the person who wrote the show is not Black. And when I brought it to their attention, like, I don't know if this is gonna land because this is not a culturally specific show. The show is not about Black people. I don't know why we're talking about hot combs and can't get my hair wet and I can't swim. As a Black character, and when I brought it to their attention, it was like, no one kind of saw the problems with those things. It kind of went over everyone's head. And I'm like, okay, having people of color in the room, telling the story, writing the story, voicing the story, making the story move, it automatically becomes authentic. And I think that that's what Porgy and Bess did so well, was that it was a really honest and authentic telling of a Black American story, and you could see the authenticity in it because you knew that the people on the other side of the table, and also the way it was written, it was just so authentic. And I think that I feel like that's what this story has as well, is an authenticity that is unapologetic. There's a lot of cursing in the story. I don't take offense to these things as long as they're true. And I know that I was worried about a lot of things. I was worried about the lynching. I was worried about some of the political implications that we're making in the show. But I think the reason why people still love the show is because these are things that people can recognize as true. And both things can be true. Louis Armstrong could have very well had a huge issue with the white community, could have gone through all types of terrible, traumatic things because he was a Black man, and also created some of the best music that we've ever had in history, and you cannot deny that either. So I think, for me in this story, Porgy and Bess does the same kind of thing. Porgy and Bess is different because the music, I think also the music in Porgy and Bess, we're not necessarily used to hearing Black voices in that way, but that doesn't mean that they don't exist. And there have been plenty of classically trained artists in the Black community, Jesse Norman, I can go on. And, I think it's important that, those voices are heard as well. But the stories themselves are just so Black. So it's just like, I'm reading it and I'm like, I'm so proud because I'm like, all of these things are true. We have low class, we have middle class, we have upper class. Like we're looking at the whole scope of the Black community. And so frequently the lens is always focused on the lower class, the gangsters, the drug dealers, the this and the that and the third. And it's never just one thing. All those things are true, but all those things are true for everyone else's communities as well. We could talk about the Italian mafiosos all day, what I'm saying? But no one really wants to talk about that, right? We only really, when we're telling Black stories, so frequently we focus on the lower degrading portions of their society, and we don't think about, oh, but also Louis Armstrong made jazz what jazz is. Both of these things are true in this story, and I think that that's why, I'm hoping that's why audiences will really resonate with the story, because I think it is very well-rounded. And I think that that's what Porgy and Bess did too, is a very well-rounded story.